Wheel of Games! Hi, I'm bigcal, and welcome to my world. It is the end of the month, which only means one thing: Wheel of Games. So what happens is, at the end of all of these videos, I spin the wheel. Whatever it lands on, I have to buy something for that category and play it during the next month and then make a video on it, which I'm doing right now. So last month I spun the wheel and it landed on CEX Voucher, or CEX Voucher. Basically a second-hand shop here that's big for gaming and movies and things in the UK. So I had a voucher worth £51. So obviously I had a lot of options, but I already knew what I wanted to buy. I only had to put £4 or £5 towards it, and what I picked up was the PS TV. So the PS TV, or Vita TV as it's known in some parts of the world, is basically a consoleized Vita. Something I wasn't entirely aware of until recently. Honestly, I didn't really know what the PS TV was exactly. Hell, even after I found out what it was and got one, I was still surprised to see that it actually takes Vita game cartridges in it. So, once you plug this thing into the TV via HDMI, it looks like what you would expect a Vita to look like, only on the big screen. The UI is identical and does pretty much everything an actual Vita would do. Mostly. See, the Vita, much like the DS and 3DS from Nintendo, utilised touchscreen technology, and not only that, but it also had a touchpad on the back of the system as well. Now, obviously, you need a controller to play the PS TV, and sadly, as a result, those touchscreen and pad options are lost. This means that the PS TV is simply incapable of playing a large number of PlayStation Vita games, because you just wouldn't be able to make them work. Except you can, because the PS TV allows you to map the analog sticks to work as the front touchscreen and the back touchpad respectively. Simply press them in and two hands pop up on the screen for you to move around as if you were moving your fingers on a touchscreen. For the most part, this works perfectly fine. However, I can only assume that for more touch-reliant games, it will become more awkward. So it is understandable that some games would be off-limits to the system. Sony, however, decided that a large chunk of their library would be inaccessible regardless. Trying to load them up will bring up an error message. I found this to be the case with Ridge Racer, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, and Dragon Quest Builders, just from the few games I tried to test it with. And so, this is where modding comes in. And just a quick note, this is not a guide on how to mod your system. There are plenty online, look them up. So, there are many reasons to want to mod a PS TV, and one of them is to unlock every Vita game to work on the system. With so many guides out there, as I just mentioned, modding the PS TV should be fairly simple. But of course, for me, it wasn't. It took me around 4 hours, spread across a couple of days, because I just got sick of it at one point, before it would finally work. Something that should have taken me maybe 30 minutes at most. Setting up correct paths for the SD card was a bit of a pain, as it just wouldn't work properly first time around, and there's also some text file editing needed as well, which luckily can be made much easier with FTP. But once it was finally done, I could activate a whitelist and unlock the PS TV to its full potential. Now the 3 games that wouldn't work before would actually load up, leaving me baffled as to why they were blocked to begin with. Both Sonic Racing Transformed and Dragon Quest Builders seemingly don't use touch features at all, with both games being entirely playable with a controller. Ridge Racer's menus heavily relied on touch, but again, you can use the analog sticks on a controller to replicate that. And once you get everything set up in the game, you don't use any touchscreen during the actual racing. Oh, and the PS TV came out right around the time of the PS4, and guess what? The PS4 controller has a touchpad on it, which, yes, can indeed be used to replicate touch on the PS TV. Only, don't bother. You'd think it would be perfect for this, but dear God, it is legit legitimately awful. Watch now the footage on screen as I struggle to do basic movements in menu during Ridge Racer and Plants vs Zombies. 100% stick to using the analog sticks. Now, sadly, the Vita isn't a system with a library that makes it that appealing to me personally. Pretty much all the games on it that I would want to play are available elsewhere. Playing them on a handheld would be appealing for sure, but that requires an actual Vita. Playing these games on a TV with a PS TV just leaves them looking worse than their proper console counterparts, thus taking away the appeal entirely. Sure, having access to yet another version of Dragon Quest Builders is nice, but if I want to play it on a console, I have it on PS4 and Switch. And with Switch, I also have access to a handheld version. So, with so few titles I would actually want to bother playing from the Vita, what does the PS TV really have to offer me? Well, PSP games. Now, I love me some PSP. I have a pretty decent library of games, which is around 90 these days, and using component cables and the RetroTink 5X, I can play them on my TV in pretty good quality anytime I want. The PS TV could play PSP games natively, but digital only of course, and sadly there is some compatibility issues as well. But with a modded PS TV, we have Adrenaline, a wonderful PSP emulator with built-in features to improve how the PSP games look and play. Nothing outstanding, but I did find that using Adrenaline and another app called Sharpscale, I could play PSP games on my TV and have them look just as good, if not maybe slightly better than they do from my actual PSP and the RetroTink 5X. Sure, I could easily mod my PSP and stick all the games on there digitally as well, but with the PS TV, I get to have them alongside the few Vita games I might actually want to play, and I can easily use a controller to play them as well, rather than using the actual PSP connected by the component cables. It's just easier this way. And if you're even more fancy than me and own a RetroTink 4K, you can hook up the PS TV to that via HDMI, as the 5X doesn't have HDMI input, and get the image quality looking even nicer as well. I didn't dive much further into modding stuff with my PS TV, as you can mess around with themes to make the UI nicer, more emulators for retro games, PS1 support, video playback, and even much more. So, overall, I'm a bit 50-50 on the PS TV. See, the actual functions of the Vita, the appeal is greatly taken away with the fact that it's no longer a handheld and you're putting games on big screen TVs, enlarging them beyond what their original resolution was, and they now look worse than normal console counterparts. Plus, like I said, there are so few games for the Vita that I would want to play. Plus, you have the whole touchpad and touchscreen inputs, which, while the thumbsticks do a good job for the most part, like I said, a more heavily touch-reliant game is going to be very awkward with this thing. But it does redeem itself with the whole PSP aspect. And like I said, I can use my PSP hooked up to the TV using different things. But I, for some reason, have just never got around to modding my PSP. This is already modded. I've got all my games on there. The Adrenaline emulator is great with the built-in features to make things look better. So that's where this redeems itself for me, as I reckon I'm going to be using this as a PSP player from now on, pretty much. And then the fact that there are still a few Vita games that I now have access to that I never did before, I'm okay with this purchase. I'm not thrilled about it, but the fact that I already had a voucher, so I only spent, like I said, £4 or £5 to get it after using the voucher that I got by trading in an old phone, the old phone that cost me less than what the voucher was given, so I was actually up on that purchase, so that was great. Yeah, so I don't mind this thing. They are starting to go up in price now because people are starting to realise that they can mod them and lock everything on them, and there is some appeal for a lot of people to have those Vita games on here and to use it as an emulation box and things like that. So I am kind of glad that I got one now before they go up in price, because who knows, 5 years from now they might be £250 and I might suddenly realise I really want one of those but then can't afford it. So yeah, picked one up now. It's fine, like I said, I'm pretty much just going to use it for PSP emulation for the future, so every time I have PSP games now, I'll obviously test that the discs work on my actual PSP, but then to record game footage and to play through them and whatnot, I'm going to be using one of these. Oh, and just a side note, if you do want to record footage, there is the HDCP, or whatever the hell it's called, where you have to use basically a HDMI splitter to get around it. So just be warned on that. Right then, it is now time to spin the wheel for next month, which will be December of 2025, the end of the year. It's already here. CEX Voucher has been removed and probably won't be coming back, at least not for any time soon, because I don't have another CEX Voucher. I have nothing that I've wanted to trade in to get money from. So it has been replaced now with Xbox Game, which was a couple of months ago. I'll be honest, I couldn't remember what else could replace it other than Nintendo Game, which was last month, because I turned my computer off and set everything up before I realised, oh, I have to change this, and I'd already forgot the list that, could replace it. So Xbox Game it is. So let's spin and see what I have to try and buy something for in December. And it's landed right in the middle of modern game and digital game, so we're just going to spin again. That is right on the middle. Spin again. Oh, for the first time ever, it has landed on merchandise. No clue off the top of my head what I'm going to buy, but it is an interesting category because it is something completely new. It's not just me buying a random game. So yeah, I'm Big Cal. Thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of the PSTV. Do you own one? Do you use it? Do you like it? Is there anything I should look out for mod-wise, apps and things like that I should look into? Any specific games maybe for the Vita that I might have overlooked? And let me know kind of merchandise I should try and pick up, because here in the UK, the series that I love, merchandise for them is kind of rare and expensive. I mean, you try buy something Dragon Quest related merchandise things here in the UK. There's very little and it's very expensive. So I'm Bigcal, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.